Hello and welcome to this little presentation on writer's block. Today I thought we'd take a step aside from the creative writing process, all the different things that we need to do to put our stories together, and take a look at the issue of writer's block. Surely every writer suffers from writer's block at some time in their lives. None of us are robots. This feared and dreaded affliction is part of the creative process. Ditch diggers don't get ditch diggers block, carpet layers don't get carpet layers block, but writers can get writer's block because it is a creative writing process. It can be a very real problem. There are levels of it because writing is creative. It's an art, not a science. We're going to look at what is writer's block, what causes writer's block, what can we do to help. I got lots of tips for you and a couple of assignments should you choose to accept them. So any creative writing process, if we're not following a definite pattern or a blueprint, means that we have to think to come up with something new and dynamic, something unique. Of course, storytelling does have a process to it, and we talk about a lot about that in Write for a Reason. So do check out the writing tips or join the Academy course if you'd like to look into that a bit further. But within those kind of frames of your characters and your setting and your plots, there is something hugely creative, and every story is going to be different. So no other species of animal can create like we can. Squirrels will build drays, foxes build holes, birds build their nests according to their different kinds, beavers live in dams, but people, look at the creativity that we can accomplish because we're made in the image of our creator, so we can build apartments and castles and lighthouses and huts and beach houses, so much creativity. And that's just homes. Think of all the amazing variety of works of art that we can make, sculptures and paintings and so many beautiful things. We can only use the materials that God has provided for us. Of course, he is the ultimate creator, but we are able to both create and appreciate beautiful things, whether it's a garden or a website, a beautiful cake or a meal, and the way that it's presented so beautifully. We have this creativity within us. So if we want to write, we can't just put in ingredients, stir it up, and out will come our story. Writing is one of the most amazing ways to show that we are God's creation. The Bible is full of stories. God makes a wonderful story. We can read the story from creation to Revelation, and all the beauty of that, and the incredible work of Jesus that he came to do for us through this wonderful story of the Bible. And we can write our stories, our little stories, which will encourage and inspire people to walk in their faith as well. So stories have the ability to make readers laugh, smile, cry, and dream. Our stories can take our readers far away to new worlds, limited only by imagination. And for those of us who want to write for the reason of sharing the good news of a Jesus, our stories also have an eternal purpose. And with all that awesomeness in mind, it's no surprise really that in our humanity there are times that the creative process may fail us for a while. So what is writer's block? There are various definitions, but the one that I think is absolutely true is the temporary inability to write creatively. So the temporary inability. Temporary is the key word. If you've been given a gift to write, the gift is still there. It's just that you've got this little block. Yeah, some writers can find themselves stuck for an hour or so with a particular issue, or because they're not feeling like it. We're going to have a look at that in a minute. And other people, it might be sort of 2 or 3 years, and they just have this whole block and they can't feel they can move forward. And it can come and go like the waves of the sea, which is why I've put that beautiful picture up there of a beautiful wave coming in and the creativity on it. So understanding our humanity and our reliance on God can be the first step, I believe, in accepting the fact that sometimes it will take us time to gain the inspiration we need, either to begin to write or to move our story forward. If we can rest in the process of getting back to being creative again, rather than getting frustrated and fighting against it, we're more likely to get back on track. Getting tense and stressed isn't going to help us at all, is it? So let's have a look at what causes writer's block. If we can pick out the symptoms, what it is that's your problem, we're more likely, and we can get a diagnosis for it, it'll be easier to find that kind of cure. So we may be stuck with a plot issue. Our minds may be distracted with other things. We may be afraid to start or finish in case the story is rubbish. We may have no definite goal or deadline to write towards. We may have a physical, emotional, or perhaps a mental health condition or an issue that is wiping out our creativity at the moment. We may have a perfectionist attitude, or we may just be generally procrastinating or feeling lazy. So if you recognize any of these, and I think I have probably suffered from most of them at some point in my writing life, you are perfectly normal. So what can we do about it? What can we do when we're stuck with a plot issue? So I'm going to go over all these different issues one by one, and let's have a look at something that you can do if you are suffering with this particular issue. So what about when we're stuck with a plot issue? Well, we may be in the middle of writing a novel. We've got the beginning, we know where we're going, we perhaps know what the end is, or perhaps we don't know what the end is. In fact, that's the problem. This can be so frustrating, especially if you've set aside time to write and there you are, not knowing what to put on there, or keep changing your mind, or writing a bit and then deleting it again. Here are some ideas which might help. First of all, pray. Sometimes we leave that to the last thing, don't we? But it's always a good idea to pray. The Lord can sometimes put something in our minds. Have a change of scenery. Do something completely different for a while. Doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's as simple as putting out the rubbish, or deadheading the flowers, or whatever it is, just for a few minutes, just get out and do something completely different. And you may find that when you've done that, you can come back with a fresh mind. Talk to an encouraging friend. Sometimes just the very fact of talking about the issue can bring the thought to mind, oh yes, that's what I need to do, or that's what it is. I mean, they may have some ideas of their own as well. Of course, make sure that you talk to somebody who's going to encourage you. Move. Studies have shown that brain works better after exercise. So if you're feeling a bit kind of sluggish and just not really feeling it, go for a walk around the block, jog on the spot if you like, or have a little dance. If you press ups are your thing, I can't do press ups, but if that's yours, do that. Anything really, swim, cycle, ride, whatever it is for you. Get up and move, get that blood flowing and those ideas flowing at the same time. And sometimes you just need to allow yourself to kind of think through. I'm incredibly fortunate where I am. I can walk out into the country lanes, and sometimes I walk out into the country lanes and I'm thinking, can just make the plot flow a bit better. So I think, oh, yes, that's what I need to do, or she needs to be more like this, or I need to remove that person or bring someone else in, or whatever it is. That time to think is great. So it might be going for a drive for you, mowing the lawn, wander around a garden centre. It might help also if you just do something like sketch your protagonist, or just kind of like get that sort of creative thing back on track. So eat something healthy, drink a glass of water, basic things, but they do help incredibly. We know that if we get dehydrated, our brain isn't working as well as it could do, and we can get kind of headaches and lack of concentration. So do that. Something like something nutritious to help your brain flowing, perhaps an OT bar or something like that, is also really handy, and that can go for any time at all. So what do we do when our minds are distracted with other things? And let's face it, in life, there are so many things. Most of us lead busy lives. We have to balance work, voluntary activities, church, family, shopping. It just never seems to end, does it? And sometimes we can have so much on our minds when we sit down to write. Our minds sit down with us, and it's so full that we're unable to concentrate. So here are some suggestions to help you to get your story finished. pray before you start, and leave everything that's concerning you with the Lord, so you can lay it out to him and tell him about those issues that are concerning you. And if they pop back up while you're writing, remind yourself, now I've given that one to the Lord. That's a really excellent piece of advice. Also, make a list, a to-do list, a list of everything else that you need to do during the day, so that you can you not keep thinking, I mustn't forget to tax the car, or I mustn't forget to pick up so and so tomorrow, or whatever those things happen to be. Write them down first. Just sit for a couple of minutes and write down all the things that are on your mind that you've got to do, put them to a side, and then you'll find that they either won't come up again, or if they do come up again, they'll go quickly, because you've got it in that list. You've got that written down. You're not going to forget those things. But having said that, if there is something absolutely essential that you have to do before you write, just do that. I'm not talking about cleaning the kitchen floor. I'm talking about the fact that you have to tax your car today, or you're going to get in trouble. So just tax the car and come back and do your writings. If it's essential, do it first. If it's not, put it in a list and do it later. This is something which helps me enormously, and it's to turn off distractions. So I tend to turn off the Wi-Fi when I'm actually going into creative writing mode, because it helps me to avoid those distractions of checking Facebook, of checking Instagram, of leaving my phone in another room is really useful. I'm not checking. I was suddenly thinking, I need to buy a present for somebody. Let me just quickly check and see if they've got that online. If I haven't got the Wi-Fi on, I can't do it. You might find that really helpful too. If you can't physically turn off the Wi-Fi, do some other things that will help you. If your distractions are other things, think to yourself, how can I prevent this? How can I stop this? Could I get somebody else to cook the dinner? Could I get someone else to look after the children for half an hour while I write? So that you haven't got to be thinking about them and listening out for when the baby's waking, or whatever it happens to be. The last thing, on kind of the distractions thing, is create a space which is pleasing to you, that you don't see. I hope you know what I mean by that. That you're not kind of looking at things. So you've got a nice clear space, or a space that is familiar. You haven't got like piles of paper which you're thinking, oh, I wonder if there's something in there, or whatever it is. So have that space that is right for you. Some people like clutter, absolutely fine. Some people like it really neat. I suggest that you have it on there that is best for you. So work it out. How do I work best? What is best for me? And get that sorted, and create your space. We can do these things. Right, I think that's it for distracted with other things. Yes. So let's move on to the next thing. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a quick sip of tea. So, what to do when we're afraid of writing in case our story is rubbish? That's a rather long title, isn't it? But I think most of us struggle with this at some point of the story. It's often in the middle. We get there and we've been really excited about it. We've got there, and all of a sudden that the creative side just sort of shuts down, and we think, this isn't going to work. This is such rubbish. I don't know why I'm spending my time doing this. This may be familiar to you. If it is, here are some tips. And here's a symptom. If cleaning the oven or some other grim job that you don't like seems more appealing than writing, there's something definitely not right here. And we all want to do well. None of us wants to do something badly. We don't want to waste our time. Suppose we give it to people to read and they don't like it. That's a fear. None of us want to be rejected. So there's that whole rejection thing by agents or publishers. And if doubts like this are lurking at the back of our minds, how easy is it going to be to sit down and do our very best creative work? Writer's block could be the result. So how do we get over our fear? First of all, it's great to recognize that starting any new creative process is always going to be a bit scary. It is. And it's fine to be afraid. So courage is being afraid, but going ahead anyway. And you can do that. We can all do that. Just the very fact that I'm sitting here and talking about this lets you know that it's not you. It is not you. We're all in this boat. We all struggle at times with thinking that our work is rubbish, that our writing is appalling. Who's going to read it? What's the point? So it's okay. That's fine. It's perfectly normal. It probably isn't. You'll probably get to the end of it and you'll be absolutely delighted with your writing. It just feels like that sometimes. So if that's your problem, don't stop. Okay, so if you've allowed anyone to read your work, don't let them put you off. I suggest that you don't allow discouraging people to read your work at any point anyway. So don't let them put you off and keep going. So grit your teeth, persevere, no matter what. Say to yourself, this is a learning curve. I'm going to keep going. Give yourself a pat on the back when you finish anything, like you finished a page, you finished a chapter. Tell yourself you're streets ahead of most people who've never even started. Hey, so what if your story isn't all that good? It doesn't matter. The next one will be better. The first few attempts at anything is going to be a learning curve. So just keep going. Okay, keep going, keep going. Turn off the distractions. I've mentioned that anyway. In the last one, that'll help you get some training. Determined to get better at your craft. This will really help you with writer's block, because you'll know that you'll know that you're not sitting there thinking, I wonder if this is the right way to go. You'll know how to create engaging characters. You'll know how to make your setting work with your theme. So if you haven't done the Write for a Reason Academy course, I'd love to be able to help you further with that. You can find that on the website, writeforareason.com. If not, get some writing books. There's lots of different things that you can do. Go to an event, a writing day, a writing weekend, but make sure you get some training that will help you along the way. Remember the parable of the talents. Some people were given 10 talents, some 5, some 1. It didn't work out well for the one who buried it. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's up between you and your prayers. Do pray about that, but don't give up and take small steps. Did you do a writing challenge earlier this year when I set one out? If you didn't, you can still go back and find that. 21 writing prompts. So if you're finding it a bit difficult at the moment to get into your story, you can use these different prompts and just write 10 minutes a day on something completely different, and it'll get you going. It'll kickstart your creativity, and you'll have some ideas. It's things like your house is surrounded by crocodiles, how are you going to get out? And all sorts of fun ideas like that. So do have a look at that. If I can help you find it, just email me and I'll point you in the right direction. So develop a thick skin as well. I've already mentioned keep writing. It's worse not to write when you've been given a gift than to give up. So just, yes, right. Sorry, I'm starting to mumble. So let's go straight on to the next one, which is an exercise for you, an assignment. Now, this is very interesting because you may be worried that your work is rubbish and that nobody's going to read it, and what's the point? Now, one of my favorite novels of all time is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. You've probably read it. You may have read it at school. You may have read it since, you may love it. You may have seen the film on telly. Lots of reviewers love this book, but here's a review from one person that I found on Amazon. If I could give this no stars, I would. No stars, that was, if I could give this no stars, I would. This is probably one of my least favorite books in the world, one that I would happily take off of shelves and stow in dark corners where no one would ever have to read it again. So you see, you're not going to appeal to everybody. That's okay. You might still be a masterpiece, and somebody is not going to like it. So your assignment is to check out some reviews of a favorite novel. You can put me on pause now if you like, and go and have a look at your favorite novel, check it on Amazon, look at reviews, or any website, doesn't really matter. Find one that has probably got 1 star or 2 stars there, and be prepared to be amazed, and be prepared to think, that is going to happen to my story too. There will be people who don't like it. Okay, what to do when we have no definite goal or deadline? This can be a crusher. If we have no particular aim or deadline to reach, it's easy to play games, to waste your time, check emails and Twitter, upload photos, update Facebook, browse for hours on end instead of concentrating on our writing. We know this. It's the age of distraction. We can blame writer's block when actually it's us just feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or just haven't got, just kind of wandering a little bit, if that makes sense. So without a time deadline and a plan, we can easily lose the plot. Oh, sorry about that, plot. But if this is a problem for you, what can you do? So number one, set a realistic deadline. Now, if you get up to the deadline and you need a bit longer, that's absolutely fine, but at least you've got something to work towards, and then you've got something else to work towards. So have a think about it. Could you finish the first draft, say, by Christmas or the new year? Do you need a bit longer than that? It's fine. How many weeks? And then break your final deadline up into smaller goals. So if you're going to finish your first draft in 12 weeks, say, will that mean a chapter a week for you, or 500 words a day? Having a definite daily or weekly deadline is an excellent way to get momentum, and that can help you sort of slip straight out of that writer's block, because all of a sudden you've got a deadline and a purpose, and a challenge. Not everybody's built this way, but if this helps you, brilliant. Get yourself an accountability partner. Say to them, this is when I'm going to do this, and now I need to do this. And maybe give them a ring every week, or ask them to phone you every week, so that they will be on your case to make sure that you are carrying on. And do celebrate when you reach a goal. Have a little treat for yourself when you've done it. This can really just boost your self-esteem, and you're just having that progress, to know that you're doing the progress, and celebrating yourself, the fact that you've come along and you've done it and you're getting there. Progress is the most wonderful thing, so celebrate those things. Right. Next, what to do when a physical or an emotional condition is wiping out creativity. There are times when we just can't seem to write anything creative due to an emotional problem. Something's going on at home or at work, or finances or something, mental or physical health, grief, illness, depression. They can all weigh heavily on us, and writer's block can be the result. Mercifully, these times can pass quickly, as in the case of a touch of flu or cold, but in some cases they can last much longer, and some of you will know exactly what I mean. The pandemic has thrown an extra spanner in the works. And when things are uncertain, when we're anxious and fearful, creativity just seems to take wings and fly away. So is there anything that we can do when this is a problem with a writer's block? My first suggestion would be that you actually set your writing aside for a while. Sometimes we have no choice but to just be reasonable until you feel better. This can be frustrating, but let's face it, there is a time for everything under the sun. There's a time to create, and there's a time not to be creative. And if that is your time, don't beat yourself up about it. Just allow yourself to take that time aside. And while you're taking time aside out of writing your novel, try just keeping your hand in, so to jot down some little ideas. So you might want to do a little character sketch for each of your characters. You might literally like to be able to draw them, sketch them, write down little things like the colors that they like, the hobbies that they like to do. You may like to send, like, write a little thing about from one character to another, so that you're keeping in touch. You're not leaving your novel completely behind, but there's just some little ideas that you can do as and when you feel like it. So have a journal to hand that you haven't got to get up and get. Keep it close beside you with a pen with it, and just to enjoy writing down a few little things every now and then, maybe a snatch of dialogue or an idea. You might like to draw their pets or anything at all, but that will keep you going with your story in some little ways. And you might like to take on some different smaller writing tasks, like writing letters, write a blog, some poetry. If that's all if that's just all that is just too taxing, leave it from aside for a while. Don't worry. Get some R&R. We all go through times in our life when we get tired or dull. If you need a change of scenery, take one. We can't be creative on empty. Don't sit at your computer feeling frustrated. Go out if you can, perhaps go out and have a coffee with a friend or something. And if that's not an option, at least close up your computer, phone a friend, read a book. Take a nap if you need one. The Lord is not there with a big stick waiting for us to write our story. He understands our human frailty, and he knows if we're skiving off or if we genuinely need a break. So make sure that you are kind to yourself with that one. Right. So the next one is the perfectionist attitude. And wanting to get everything right is an excellent thing, but striving too hard after perfection can be a total killer. It can be linked with a fear of not being good enough. I would suggest that the three biggest symptoms of this type of writer's block are: number one, the inability to actually start writing a story that you have in your head. You just keep going over and over and over it and trying to perfect it in your mind. Number two, editing the same few sentences over and over again. So it's got to be right before you can move on. That is an issue. Number three, giving up on a story you haven't completed, starting something new, and then repeating the process. So if you feel, if this sounds a bit like you, perhaps you're too much of a perfectionist. What might be a good story may never see the light of day if you insist on trying to make it perfect. Do you know what? There is no such thing as the perfect story. I have been asked by people to look at their work and they say, is it good enough? And my response to that is, there's no such thing as good enough. Every story has value. The value may be that you wrote it and it's ready for the next one. The value may be that your grandchildren will absolutely love it because it's about them and their pets. The value may be actually a lot more than you think, and it may be a brilliant story, but it doesn't matter. The fact that you've written the story means that it's a good story. There's no such thing as a perfect story. It's fine. You've written one, that's great. Now you go on to write the next one, but don't be perfectionist about it. Everybody has to start somewhere. When we first moved into this house here, we had a complete blank canvas for a garden. Hadn't got a clue, and we put out some things and they seemed quite nice, but honestly we've learned a lot over the 10 years that we've been here, and we've learned what about the soil and how it works. The first time anybody does anything, it may not be brilliant. If we just set ourselves out to be perfectionists at the beginning, we'd have been so upset about the way the things didn't work in the garden. And, you know, we planted shrubs too close to the fence and all sorts. You just don't know sometimes. It's not good to be a perfectionist. It's good to have a go and then learn and then move on. And I did mean that about training earlier on. So do get some training if you need some and haven't got some. So that was me being, don't be perfectionist. Force yourself to finish the story you've begun. That's okay. Learning any skill takes time and practice. The better your stories will become. Don't give up on them. Just finish them no matter what. And set yourself a deadline for finishing your story. Persevere, don't give up. And here's another thing which can be really useful if you have perfectionist tendencies. free write your first draft and don't edit it at all until you've completely finished that first draft. So write without editing, and then go back. And then at that point, you can go back and edit it as many times as you want. It's absolutely fine to just keep going until you reach the point of thinking, I'm starting to ruin this now. And that is the whole editing process. So some people are more perfectionist than others about their stories. That's fine. You are you be you, but get that first draft down and then go back and edit, and hopefully then that kind of writer's block that you get stuck with because you couldn't move on until this bit was right, you can work through that one. Just keep going, finish the thing, and then go back and edit. Okay. Right, I must go on because time is running away with us. So what to do when the general procrastination and laziness takes over? Now, some of us are perhaps lazier than others and more prone to doing what's easy and fun instead of what we know we really should be doing. And at the first hurdle, we give up because we're not used to pushing through when the going gets tough. Something I have had to learn. Let's face it, writing can be hard work at times. It's a fallacy to think that if you've got a gift to writing, you're going to love every minute. Sometimes it is really hard work, and you've got to take time aside from doing things which would be really good fun to be able to get down and write that novel. Here are some tips if you find that procrastination is causing your writer's block. Don't wait for the muse to strike. Just sit down and write. Which leads me straight on to the next one. Sit at your desk, make a habit of it, put your butt in your seat and just write. So every time your mind begins to wander, you're tempted to do these other things, get firm with yourself and get back to work. And choose the best time for writing for you. There's no point trying to write in the evenings if you're exhausted by then, and wanting to do something fun and lazy. You may need to do something fun and lazy then. So write at the time that is best for you. That may be the middle of the night, maybe the evening, but it may not. So when is the best time for you? Is it early in the morning? Is it lunchtime? Is it before everybody gets up in the morning? You find you and write at the best time for you, and then you will find that it's more fun. So yes, it will stop that kind of procrastination if you're looking forward to it and it's a habit, because if it's a habit, you will just go and do it. I got over this one when I was writing my last novel. By after dinner, we always had coffee in the evening. So I would grab my coffee and I would walk straight to my desk. So instead of sitting down on the settee and starting to veg out for the evening, I'd go and write for an hour. And I just did it for an hour, and I knew it was going to be for an hour, and I could go back out and do some other things then. And I was in such a habit over it, and I was looking forward to it. And when you get that momentum, when you get that progress, you really want to keep going. So hope that is really helpful for you. Do the same. You need to set yourself reasonable, sensible targets every time you sit down. If you know a bit lazy, make it a bit longer than maybe some other people would do. Don't be hard on yourself. You are you. Be reasonable, but set targets and make them reasonable, and make sure you stick to them. A number of words can be better than a number of hours, as you could just sit dreaming and doodling for 2 hours if you set yourself 2 hours. Whereas if you're saying, I'm going to write 100 words or 300 words, 500 words, whatever it is, you're more likely to sit down and do that. So have a go at that and persevere. If you need treats to motivate you, do it. Doesn't it look like a lovely brownie there? Right, okay, that's covered that one. Let's move on to preventing writer's block. So wouldn't it be so much better if we could actually prevent writer's block in the first place? Of course, that's impossible all the time, but still there are some things that we can do to help. Here are some tips. Plan your story carefully. We go into plotting and planning in the Write for a Reason Academy. If you've thought through your plot, you know exactly where you're going, what's happening each step of the way, what your characters are doing. Not set in stone, of course, but you've got the plan, it's there. You're much less likely to reach that point of now what? That is not a nice place to be. So Planning your story is really useful. If you want to do the academy, go over to the website, writeforareason.com, have a look at that. You will come out of the academy after 10 weeks or however long you want to take over it with a complete story plan. And that will definitely help with your writer's block. Second thing is, remember your reason for writing. Make sure you have a strong enough reason to write and remember it. If you're feeling positive about your writing and your purpose, you're less likely to hit the black wall. So imagine children reading your book. Every time you sit down, maybe have a picture of some children, the children that you are closest to perhaps, or you can just take some off Google, just put them, put some kiddies, pictures of kiddies reading up above your screen. So there they are, and you think, if I finish this book, this will encourage them. They're waiting for it. And if you have been called to write, somebody is waiting for it. That's not just let's motivate ourselves here. It's an honest motivation. There are children who are waiting for books that will encourage and inspire them, and maybe it's yours. There are some that you need to touch with yours. So remember your reason for writing. Look after yourself. We've talked about eating healthy, sleeping, drinking plenty of water. These things will help. Keep it up. Don't take on too much as well. At times we ask too much of ourselves, or other people will ask too much of us. Sometimes we may have to say no to things to be true to our calling. Maybe we could delegate household tasks to somebody else to stop us feeling overwhelmed, or could someone else cook the dinner or clean the car while you write? You've got to think about this for yourself. Everybody is different. Every situation is different. Perhaps you've said yes to too many things and you need to cut back. Pray for guidance over this thing. And when you've got the right amount of time and you're not feeling overwhelmed, to start with, writer's block is much less likely to come in. Make the most of the time. And I do suggest that you join a group for inspiration. Whether it's a physical group or an online group. There's lots of online groups around at the moment, and having some encouragement can be absolutely brilliant to stop your writer's block. I know we had a Q&A session with the Write for a Reason Academy students last week, and it was a great time. And one of the chaps went away saying, I'd kind of set it aside, but now I'm really raring to go again. So that can be a brilliant way to keep yourself encouraged and moving on. You might like to phone a friend. Have a trusted friend you can phone. It might be your accountability partner, but someone who gets the whole writing thing, and ask them to pray for you when you feel that, when you start to feel that that writer's block approaching, think, I'm stuck with this, help me. You might like to try some writing software. I don't use any myself. I don't find it helpful, but do check that out online if you feel that might be helpful for you. Scrivener, Write Monkey, some people use. Ask around in your writing groups who uses what and what they find helpful, and check it out. If you feel the block approaching, get some help and get it quickly. Go for that walk, talk to someone, do whatever you need to do, but do it fast. And of course, pray. Pray before you start. Pray before you start every day. And get someone else to pray with you and for you. If you're writing with the aim of reaching children and young people with the good news of Jesus, you're going to need some prayer support. It is a frontline activity. People don't like it, and prayer is great. So there you go. Some thoughts on writer's block. I hope you found that helpful, not too long-winded. You'll have to work out what works for you. Why not read back over the ideas, go back over this, find 2 or 3 that really hit home for you. So I've got another exercise for you here. Write down just something that you can do that you found helpful that will help you. What has this been useful for? Is there just one little idea that you could put into practice from now on to help you to get back on track? It might be getting a prayer partner, it might be clearing up your desk, it might be putting a do not disturb notice on your door, it may be turning off your Wi-Fi, whatever it is. Drop me a line, tell me what you're going to do, because putting it in writing and telling someone will help you to achieve your goal by several fold. That is a statistic. So one very last thing, be kind to yourself. We're all human. If this has done nothing else for you, but to know that you're not alone, this is totally normal. Writer's block does come to us all from time to time. If nothing more but that, I hope this has been useful, and I look forward to helping you again in the future. Do get in touch if there's anything I can do. Bye for now.